On the quiet evening of September 12, 2017, Emily Carter, a 23-year-old college student, was home alone in her Knoxville apartment. It was an ordinary Tuesday. She had attended her psychology class earlier that day, grabbed coffee with a friend, and returned home by 7 p.m. The neighborhood was calm, and her building stood at the edge of a wooded area, far enough from downtown to be peaceful, yet close enough to feel safe. Emily was known for her cautious nature. She always locked her doors and rarely went out alone after dark. But something about that night felt different. At exactly 9:47 p.m., Emily placed a short, frantic call to her best friend. Her voice was low, almost whispering, and the only thing she managed to say was, "He's outside. Gotta go." The line disconnected seconds later. Tara, her friend, called back immediately. No answer. She tried again. Nothing. After several attempts, she assumed Emily might be joking or overreacting and decided to wait until morning to follow up. That decision would haunt her. The next day, Emily didn't show up for her shift at a local bookstore. She wasn't answering texts or calls. By evening, her parents were contacted. They drove in from Nashville and called the police. Officers found her apartment locked from the inside, lights still on, dishes in the sink. Her phone was gone, but her wallet and keys were still there. There were no signs of a break-in. No blood. No forced entry. No footprints, no fingerprints, no clear evidence at all. It was as if she had vanished into thin air. In the hours that followed, friends began retracing her final movements. Security cameras in the building showed her entering at 7:08 p.m., but never leaving. From that moment on, Emily Carter had disappeared without a trace. As investigators struggled to find answers in Emily Carter's disappearance, they turned their attention to her recent past, hoping to uncover anything that could explain what had happened. Within days, they discovered a troubling detail that had never been taken seriously at the time. Just 2 months before she vanished, Emily had filed a police report claiming she was being followed. She described a man in a grey hoodie who often lingered near her apartment complex. She said she'd seen him watching her from across the street, sometimes standing by the mailboxes or near the woods behind the building. The man never approached her directly, never spoke, but his presence was constant enough to leave her terrified. The report was labeled unconfirmed, with no follow-up, and quietly forgotten. Friends recalled how Emily had become noticeably anxious during that period. She stopped taking late classes, asked co-workers to walk her to her car, and even considered breaking her lease early. But she never did. She told people she didn't want to overreact or look paranoid. Unfortunately, her fears were dismissed by the police and by those closest to her. Further investigation revealed tension in Emily's personal life as well. She had recently ended a long relationship with Ryan Bell, a former security guard she had dated for almost 2 years. The breakup hadn't been smooth. Several friends shared that Ryan struggled to let go and had shown up uninvited at Emily's workplace more than once. She eventually blocked him on her phone and social media. When questioned, Ryan told detectives he had nothing to do with her disappearance and even offered up an alibi. Surveillance footage did show him at a gas station on the night she vanished, but investigators couldn't ignore the possibility that his obsession with Emily might have turned into something far darker. 3 weeks after Emily Carter's disappearance, investigators received their first major breakthrough, but it came from a place no one expected. A maintenance worker at her apartment complex was conducting routine inspections of the on-site storage units located in the building's basement garage. Most units were rarely used, often dusty and forgotten, but one in particular, Unit 14B, caught the worker's attention. Its padlock was broken, and the door slightly ajar. Thinking it had been left open by accident, he opened it fully, only to be met with a disturbing scene. Inside the dim unit was a mess of discarded items, torn clothing, a rolled-up sleeping bag, several empty water bottles, and food wrappers. The place smelled of sweat and mildew. Tucked under a pile of old newspapers was a cracked iPhone with a shattered screen. It was Emily's. The wallpaper image confirmed it, a photo of her and her younger brother taken that summer. Her phone had last pinged near her apartment complex before going offline the night she vanished. Somehow, it had ended up in this hidden corner of the building. Next to the phone was a faded grey shirt, stained and wrinkled. It didn't belong to Emily. Testing later confirmed the presence of male DNA, but there was no match in any criminal database. Investigators now believed someone had been living secretly in the basement, possibly for weeks. It was the same shadowy figure Emily had reported months before. He hadn't just been watching her, he had been living just beneath her feet. The terrifying realization spread through the building. Residents who had brushed off Emily's warnings began recalling strange noises late at night, footsteps, whispering, the sound of movement in the pipes. All at once, what had seemed like paranoia now felt like a missed warning, a truth hiding in plain sight. The investigation into Emily Carter's disappearance had gone cold when, nearly a month later, something unexpected arrived at the Knoxville Police Department. It was a plain manila envelope with no return address, postmarked from a nearby town. Inside was a single Polaroid photograph, slightly bent at the edges, and what it revealed sent chills down every investigator's spine. The image showed a woman who appeared to be Emily, her long brown hair tangled, her eyes wide with fear, and her mouth sealed shut with silver duct tape. She was sitting on a bare mattress in an empty room with wooden walls. In the background was a calendar, flipped to October 2017. Forensics quickly determined that the photo was real, not edited or manipulated. The style of the image, and the fact it was taken with an instant camera, made tracing its origin difficult. Even more disturbing was the fact that the calendar showed a date weeks after Emily had vanished. If the photo was authentic, it meant she had still been alive for some time after the night she went missing. There was no note, no message, just the photo. It seemed like a taunt, or a desperate clue. Investigators began a regional search of remote cabins, abandoned homes, and vacant properties. During this sweep, they came across an old farmhouse in the woods about 40 miles from Knoxville. It had been recently vacated by a tenant named Leo Chambers, a 38-year-old drifter with a history of mental illness and trespassing arrests. Inside the house, police found remnants of food, a mattress matching the one in the photo, ropes on the floor, and pieces of torn women's clothing. A battered notebook was also found, with disturbing ramblings and references to keeping her quiet. DNA testing confirmed Emily had been inside that house. But once again, she was gone. 6 months after Emily Carter vanished, police arrested her ex-boyfriend, Ryan Bell, for the second time. This time, the evidence was different. Investigators had recovered new surveillance footage from a private home near Emily's apartment complex, previously overlooked. The footage showed Ryan's car parked near the edge of the woods behind the complex at 10:15 p.m. on the night she disappeared, just 28 minutes after Emily's final phone call. His original alibi, being at a gas station miles away, was only partially true. He had left the gas station earlier than he claimed and had driven straight back to her building. Confronted with this footage, Ryan finally broke. But what he said took the case in an entirely new direction. Ryan confessed that he had been following Emily that night, hoping to see her one last time. He parked near the woods and watched her apartment from a distance. According to him, he saw a tall man dragging something, he thought it was a body, into the trees. Afraid he'd be blamed, Ryan fled without calling anyone. His story seemed desperate, but when investigators searched the area he described, they found a shallow trench covered in brush and leaves. Inside it was a large plastic box. What they found confirmed everyone's worst fears. The box contained decomposed human remains, along with pieces of jewelry and a torn jacket belonging to Emily. Dental records verified the body as hers. Forensic analysis also revealed traces of DNA that matched Leo Chambers, the same man who had rented the farmhouse where the Polaroid was taken. It was now clear Leo had abducted Emily, held her captive for weeks, and ultimately murdered her. Emily's last words, his outside, were not a mistake, not paranoia. She had seen her killer. She had known. And no one listened in time.